Step out and face away. Step out and face away.
Okay, fellas, please don't shoot me. Please, man.
I'm not gonna shoot you. Step out and face away.
Hello everyone, my name is Sarah Josiah, an aspiring barrister, a wife, a mother, all of the above, and a breakdown or a better understanding of the charges against Derek Chauvin, who was convicted of the murder of George Floyd. So if you're watching this video, you're probably aware of the case at hand. On May the 25th, 2020, Derek Chauvin and some other police officers attempted to arrest George Floyd. And in doing so, Derek Chauvin had his knee on George Floyd's neck for around 8 minutes and 29 seconds, after which he lost consciousness and was pronounced dead. The murder trial began on the 8th of March 2021, and on the 20th of April 2021, Derek Chauvin was convicted of the murder of George Floyd. The jury found him guilty of all charges. What are these charges everyone keeps speaking about? Second-degree unintentional murder, second-degree manslaughter, and third-degree murder. Following his conviction, Derek Chauvin was remanded in custody and his bail was revoked. All that means is that he's not allowed to go home. He has to wait in the police's custody until he's sentenced.
I'm not too sure why. There's a glare in my eyes. I really don't know where it's coming from.
Firstly, I'll talk about the differences between murder charges, their degrees. I'll start with the most serious charge, and then I'll give a brief explanation of each of the different charges. The first charge that you can be charged of concerning murder is first-degree murder, which most people may have heard of already. In first-degree murder, there are one or two categories. The first being murder being premeditated or intentional. For example, if you stalk somebody and then you murder them, that would be classified as a premeditated murder. In America, a felony is when someone is killed during the commission of a particular crime. So for example, somebody's killed during rape, or somebody's killed during burglary or kidnapping. You know, those very serious crimes, those will be considered a felony. And then you have second-degree murder. And again, there are two different categories to this. The first being that the second-degree murder is unplanned. However, it's intentional. For example, when someone reacts, they're angry and they just do something and the person dies, that would be unplanned. However, it's intentional because, you intended to inflict pain on that person, basically. In contrast to that, it may be unintentional while intending to inflict a large amount of pain, then that would be classified as second-degree murder as well. And then the second category of that is if somebody dies by just someone's recklessness, someone's complete disregard for human life, then that would be the second category of second-degree murder. The maximum amount of years you can get for second-degree murder in America is 40 years. The difference between first-degree murder and second-degree murder is literally the intention. The court would look at the intention of the defendant being, the person who's accused in the situation. So the intention or the mindset the defendant had when they were committing the action, the crime. You have another strand, which is called second-degree manslaughter. And this was the second charge against Derek Chauvin. And then second-degree manslaughter is unlawful killing without implied or express malice. That meaning whether it's said, whether it's not said, whether it's written down, whether it's not written down, as long as there's no malice, that is second-degree manslaughter. So there must be no intention at all. And you can look at it in different ways, because it could be that the defendant took reasonable steps to stop the victim from dying, or carrying out an act that is legal but doing it improperly or negligently. The max amount of years that someone can get for second-degree manslaughter is 10 years. Then you have third-degree murder, also known as manslaughter. Third-degree murder is unplanned, it is unintentional, and it's not a part of another felony, as I've told you before. For example, rape or, another kind of crime like that. Third-degree murder can be involuntary. For example, if someone falls and by them falling, they push somebody and that person falls into the middle of the road, and, that could be an involuntary. Okay, then that's a really bad example. Somebody falls and like by that pushes somebody off the edge of the building, for example, that would be involuntary because you fell down. So it can be that you punch somebody with the intention to kill, basically. And the maximum amount of years you can get for third-degree murder or manslaughter is 25 years. The main differences between the third degree murder and the first and second is that it's not planned and it hasn't arisen out of someone's reckless behavior to disregard human life. Third degree charges only exist in Pennsylvania, Florida and Minnesota. And obviously Minnesota is the state in which this case is being held and the crime was carried out. Every other state, they would just charge manslaughter. In Minnesota, they have sentencing guidelines. And what sentencing guidelines are guidelines which, the judge would look at. Just to kind of give recommendations as to how to charge somebody. So Minnesota's sentencing guidelines recommend 12.5 years for each murder charge and then around 4 years for manslaughter. But for this case specifically, the state has asked for a longer sentence than has been recommended, which is really interesting. So if you add all those years together, you're looking at around 75 years. But we'll see in a couple of weeks' time what the judge decides to sentence Derek Chauvin for the murder of George Floyd. So I hope that gives you a better understanding of how the sentencing works and exactly what he's been charged for.